in the quiet rhythm of shared Sundays, where laughter binds us tighter than any vow. Maya Ellis has always believed that true friends are the anchors of the soul, unwavering, unseen forces holding back the tide of doubt. She's poured her heart into this circle, convinced that loyalty is a silent promise, etched in the small gestures and late-night confessions that weave their lives together. But beneath the warmth of those easy mornings, a shadow stirs, a whisper of secrets that could unravel everything she holds dear, forcing her to question if the bonds she trusts are as solid as they seem, or if they've always been laced with hidden fractures. The morning sun slants through the cafe windows, painting the morning sun slants through the cafe windows, painting our corner booth in warm gold. It's our ritual, Sundays with the crew, plates of avocado toast and endless refills of coffee. Lena's laughing at Andre's dumb joke about his latest failed date, her head thrown back, that effortless sparkle in her eyes. I lean into it, the easy hum of us, me, Lena, Andre, and a couple others from the old work circle. We've been tight for years, the kind of friends who don't need invites because showing up is just what we do. Loyalty like that, it's bone deep, unspoken. I glance at the frayed bracelet on my wrist, the one we all swapped threads from back in college, a silly pact against the world. It catches the light, threads loosening, but still holding. Pass the creamer, I say, nudging Lena's arm. She's scrolling her phone, half smiling. We planned this brunch last week. Her idea. Girls catch up before the full group piled in. But her text this morning was weird. Running late, spill on the usual spot. Usual spot. Like we'd ever switch without saying. I brush it off. She's probably just hungover from Saturday's bar hop. Lena wouldn't flake on this. Andre catches my eye across the table, raising a brow. You good, Maya? Look like you're solving world hunger over there. I force a grin. Nah, just replaying that story you told. Epic fail. The chatter picks up again, voices overlapping in that comfortable rhythm. But as Lena finally pockets her phone and dives into the menu, her reply nags at me, like a shadow in the steam rising from my mug. Why the vagueness? We've shared everything. Breakups, job rants, those late-night confessions that glued us tighter. Trust isn't a question. It's the air we breathe. I twist the bracelet absent-mindedly, feeling a thread snag under my nail. It's starting to unravel at the edges, but I tuck it back in. Lena's fine. We're fine. Still, as the group toasts with clinking mugs, a quiet itch settles in my chest. Doubt, small but insistent. What if that odd reply isn't nothing? I push it down, sip my coffee, let the warmth chase it away. But the unease lingers, a faint ripple under the surface. She's all about us, you know. Probably just a work thing. But as Jake shrugged and wandered off, her mind snagged on it. Double life? Lena, with her endless check-ins and inside jokes? No way. Later that night, sprawled on her couch, Maya scrolled through old texts. There it was, a thread from 2 months back. Lena had sworn she was buried in deadlines, canceling their coffee. Stuck at the office till midnight, babe. Miss you already. But Jake's story? That rooftop was across town, no office in sight. And last week, Lena's alibi for ditching plans? Family stuff. Vague, always so vaguely loyal. Maya's thumb hovered over the screen, the glow casting shadows on her face. Hidden messages, tucked between emojis and excuses, staring back like accusations she couldn't unsee. She wanted to text Lena, clear the air, but the words stuck. What if it was nothing? What if pushing cracked the one thing holding them together? Yet the doubt wormed in, sharp and insistent, turning her chest tight. Trust had always been effortless, until now, when the facts whispered louder than the loyalty she'd built her world on. She set the phone down, staring at the ceiling. Could she really ignore this? Pretend the threads weren't fraying? The anxiety bloomed, suspicious and cold, leaving her alone with the questions no one else seemed to hear. The next afternoon, Maya sat across from Andre in the dim corner of the coffee shop, the kind of place where the hum of conversations blurred into white noise. Her fingers traced the rim of her glass of water, the surface still and clear, like the calm she clung to. She hadn't touched it since they ordered, her detachment a shield against the nagging pull in her gut. "You keep saying it's nothing," Andre said, his voice low but steady, leaning forward with that quiet intensity she always relied on. "But I've seen it, Maya." Lena's phone lighting up at odd hours, the way she dodges when you ask about her weekends. It's not just forgetfulness, it's secrecy. She blinked slowly, her gaze fixed on the glass. The water held her reflection, unbroken. "We're all busy. Loyalty isn't about prying. If she wanted me to know, she'd tell me." Her words came out flat, rehearsed, the denial wrapping around her like fog. It felt safer this way, smoothing the edges, keeping the circle intact. Andre didn't back off. He mirrored her calm at first, nodding as if he got it, but his eyes sharpened. "That's the thing. Loyalty isn't blind. I've watched you pour everything into this group. And what do you get? Half-truths. Last week at the bar, she slipped away with that guy from work. The one she swore was just a colleague. I didn't say anything then, but I'm not staying silent now. You deserve to know." The words landed like a crack in the glass. Maya's hand tightened around it, and she watched a ripple distort the surface, the clarity fracturing into wavering lines. Her breath caught, detachment cracking open. Shock bloomed in her chest, raw and electric. Not the big explosion, but a quiet unraveling. Fear clawed up, mixing with the anger she'd buried. How long had she let the silence fill the gaps? Was ignoring it the same as inviting it in? Andre reached across, not touching her, just holding space. "Go look for yourself. Check the patterns. Don't let this eat you from the inside." She stared at the cloudy water, the question hanging unspoken. Could she admit that her silence had become part of the betrayal all along? The shop's lights flickered, casting stark shadows on the table, and for the first time, the fog felt thinner, dangerously so. That evening, back in the dim apartment, Maya's fingers hovered over the screen, the glow casting shadows on her face. She scrolled back months, through the group chat that once felt like a lifeline. Emojis of coffee cups, inside jokes about late-night brunches, Lena's signature winks after every girls' night plan. But tonight, doubt gnawed like an itch she couldn't ignore. Why had she always laughed off the vague replies, the ones that promised catch up soon, but dissolved into silence? She paused on a thread from June. "Weather's turning. Perfect for that rooftop vibe," Lena had typed, followed by a string of fire emojis. The others piled on, thumbs up from Sarah, a heart from Jess. Maya remembered waiting by her phone that night. Her own message, "Count me in," sitting unread until morning. She'd brushed it off as everyone being busy. Now, staring at it, the words twisted. Rooftop vibe. It wasn't about the weather. It was code, a signal for the ones who knew, the inner loop she wasn't looped into. Her heart stuttered, confusion flooding in like cold water. Had they always spoken like this? Layers under layers, her trust the blind spot. She dug deeper, cross-referencing private DMs Lena had forwarded once. Just us girls. But there, buried in a casual exchange with Andre, leaked by accident weeks ago, Another layer. MK's out for the vibe tonight. Keep it low. MK, her initials. Not a nickname, but a dismissal. The realization hit sharp, slicing through the fog. These weren't oversights. They were exclusions, deliberate and dressed as camaraderie. Hidden messages, pixels veiling the truth she'd fed herself. Loyalty was unbreakable. Her breath quickened, mind racing ahead. Patterns everywhere now. The subtle exclusions stacking like evidence in a trial she hadn't known she was facing. No more self-deception. She screenshot it all, fingers trembling but steadying. What would trust even mean if she peeled back every layer herself? A week later, during her session, Maya sat rigid in the worn armchair, fingers twisting the frayed bracelet on her wrist like it was the last tether to something solid. Dr. Hall's office felt smaller today, the air thick with the faint scent of chamomile tea neither of them had touched. Outside, the city hummed indifferently, but inside, Maya's world was a fog she couldn't pierce. "Tell me about Lena again," Dr. Hall said, her voice steady, eyes sharp behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Not the version you rehearse for Andre, the one that keeps you up at night." Maya shifted, gaze dropping to the coffee table. There sat a plain glass of water, condensation beating on its surface. Something Dr. Hall always offered, a quiet ritual. Maya reached for it absent-mindedly, lifting it to her lips. The water looked clear enough, but as she tilted it, a faint swirl clouded the bottom, stirred by the motion. She froze, staring. "It's nothing," Maya muttered, setting it down too quickly. Water sloshed, distorting the light, refracting through the glass. "Lena's just private. We've all got secrets. That's what keeps us close, right? Loyalty means not prying." Dr. Hall leaned forward, unblinking. "Or it means letting the murk settle until you can't see your own reflection. Look at that glass, Maya. What do you see now?" Confusion knotted in Maya's chest, a dizzy spin, like the room was tilting. She peered closer. The water wasn't pure anymore. Tiny particles danced in the ripples, turning clarity to haze. Her throat tightened. "It's dirty. I didn't notice before." "Exactly." Dr. Hall's tone was gentle but insistent, cutting through the denial. "Lena's secrets aren't just hers. They seep into you, clouding what you thought was transparent. Your boundaries, they're dissolving in that same water. You've been drinking it down, excusing the taste because it's from a friend. But how long before you can't tell what's poison?" Maya's breath hitched, the confusion fracturing into something sharper, anxiety clawing up from her gut, raw and unnamed. She gripped the glass, feeling its cool weight, the way the distortion warped her fingers beneath the surface. Andre's words echoed in her mind. "You're heading somewhere real now, Maya." But the group's feeling it, tense, like they're waiting for you to shatter. He was right. The circle was fraying, whispers pulling at the edges. But here, in this room, it was just her and the truth staring back, murky and unyielding. I keep thinking if I just wait, it'll clear," Maya whispered, voice cracking. The anxiety bloomed, hot and insistent, naming itself at last. Doubt wasn't a flaw in Lena. It was the sediment she'd ignored for years. But as the water stilled, still clouded, the question hung heavy. How do you reclaim your edges when everything's already blurred? The following weekend, alone again, Maya sat cross-legged on her unmade bed, the afternoon light slicing through the blinds like accusations. Her phone lay heavy in her lap, screen glowing with old texts. Lena's flimsy excuses stacked like forgotten invitations. "Sorry, babe. Work emergency," one read. Time-stamped the night of their planned movie marathon. Maya remembered the empty theater seats, the way she'd scrolled through group chats alone, her messages dissolving into unread ghosts. Another, "Can't make brunch, rain check?" But the sky had been clear, and Lena's stories later buzzed with club nights Maya hadn't been tagged in. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard, itching to type, to demand clarity. Why start now? The small cuts had always healed over with a forced laugh, a shared coffee. But today, they festered. She flicked to photos, the frayed bracelet dangling from Lena's wrist in a selfie, the one they'd all bought on that girls' trip, threads worn thin from too many careless tugs. Maya's own lay on her nightstand, its clasp loose, a single bead missing, like trust slipping away unnoticed. Panic clawed up her chest, hot and sudden. What if she messaged? What if the truth spilled out, confirming the voids? Her breath hitched, vision blurring as memories piled on. Andre's hesitant silences during calls, the group's inside jokes that left her on the edge, voices overlapping without her input. She'd overlooked it all, chalking it up to busyness, to loyalty's quiet hum. Now, the weight pinned her down, limbs leaden. She couldn't scroll further, couldn't delete, couldn't even set the phone aside. The room closed in, walls echoing the unspoken. Lena's evasive laughs, the collective hush that let betrayals brew. How do you step forward when every recalled slight roots you in place? Maya gripped the bracelet, its rough edges biting her palm, but her body stayed frozen, the panic hardening into a numb void. Distance stretched between her and them, a silent chasm widening, Lena's name fading to a whisper in her mind. Silence wasn't protection, it was the blade. As the unease built over the next few days, Maya's heart thudded like a metronome set too fast, her sneakers silent on the cracked sidewalk as she slipped behind Lena's figure, weaving through the evening crowd. Determination gripped her. No more half-glimpsed inconsistencies, no more swallowing the sour taste of doubt. She'd followed the thread from that leaked confession, piecing together Lena's schedule like a puzzle she couldn't unsee. Coffee runs that stretched too long, nights out that didn't match the group texts. Tonight, she was the hunter, phone clutched in her pocket, ready to capture what words never would. Lena turned into the dimly lit alley behind the old bookstore, her posture loosening as if shedding a skin. Maya pressed against a brick wall, breath shallow, watching as Lena pulled out her phone. The screen glowed, illuminating her face in sharp relief. A quick scroll, then a delete. But Maya was close enough, angled just right, to snap a photo before Lena pocketed it again. Zooming in later, in the shadows, Maya's stomach twisted. Hidden messages, threaded conversations with names Maya recognized from their circle, laced with alibis that painted Lena's double life in stark pixels. Can't make tonight. Family stuff. One read, time-stamped the exact hour Lena had claimed a headache and bailed on their dinner. Another, to some guy Maya didn't know. Maya's clueless. Keep it quiet. Shock hit like cold water, splashing through the resolve that had carried her here. Her hands trembled as she lowered the phone, the evidence burning into her retinas. This wasn't a slip. It was a schedule carved in secrecy. Meetups Maya now pictured, unfolding in stolen hours. Lena laughing with shadows, while Maya waited for calls that never came. The trust she'd anchored her world to cracked audibly in her chest, a fracture she couldn't deny. No excuses this time. No whispering to herself that it was all a misunderstanding. The bond was broken, jagged edges exposed. But what now? She stayed frozen, watching Lena emerge from the alley, glancing over her shoulder before melting into the neon hum of the street. Friends had noticed Maya's distance already. Andre's concerned texts, the group's sidelong looks at brunch. Whispers about Lena's evasions were starting. But Maya held back, the weight of proof a noose tightening. Could she collect enough to force the truth without shattering everything? Herself included. The question hung, unanswered, as she slipped away into the night, the phone's glow a faint, accusing light in her pocket. Finally, unable to hold it in any longer, the dim glow of the corner booth in the dimly lit bar cast long shadows across the group's faces, turning their usual easy chatter into something taut, like a wire pulled too tight. Maya sat at the edge of the circle, her fingers tracing the rim of her half-empty glass of water, watching the surface ripple with every small shift. The water was clear at first, but as she stirred it absent-mindedly, tiny bubbles clouded it, distorting the reflection of the pendant light above. "I mean, it's just weird, right?" Maya said, her voice cutting through the hum of distant conversations. She glanced at Lena first, then around the table, at the various friends who'd shown up for what was supposed to be a casual catch-up. "Lena, you said you were at that work thing last week, but Jake mentioned seeing you somewhere else, with someone. And now these whispers? It's like everyone's tiptoeing around it." Lena's smile faltered for a split second, her eyes flicking to her phone screen before she tucked it away. "Maya, come on. Jake's always mixing things up. You're reading too much into it." But there was no follow-through, no laugh to brush it off, just that quick pivot to sipping her drink. The table went still. Andre shifted in his seat, his gaze dropping to his hands, while the others, Sarah with her forced neutrality, Mike staring at the menu like it held state secrets, let the silence bloom. It started as a pause, a natural breath, but thickened fast, pressing down like humidity before a storm. No one met Maya's eyes. No one jumped in with the usual, "What? No way," or "Tell us more." Just the clink of ice settling, the faint buzz of a notification no one checked. Maya's chest tightened, the tension coiling in her gut like a spring. She scanned their faces, searching for a crack, a nod, a shrug, anything to pull her back into the fold. But they withdrew, inch by inch. Sarah crossing her arms, Mike excusing himself to the bar with a mumbled, "Be right back." The social echo, that warm hum of shared stories and inside jokes, fractured right there, splintering into isolated pockets. Lena leaned back, her expression smoothing into polite detachment, further away than the 2 feet of table between them. Hidden messages hung in the air, unspoken texts and sidelong glances they'd all exchanged earlier, the kind that said, "Don't poke, don't unravel." Maya felt it in the way her phone stayed silent in her pocket. No group chat pings to affirm her, no private reassurances. The rumors she'd heard from the periphery, whispers from acquaintances about Lena's late nights, secret alliances, swelled now, feeding on this void. She pushed her glass aside, the water sloshing, cloudy and unsettled. The silence stretched, heavy with what wasn't said. Was this their way of admitting it, or just another layer of the lie? Maya straightened, a resolve flickering despite the alienation creeping in, cold and isolating. She wouldn't let it swallow her whole. Not yet. That tension carried over into the larger gathering soon after, where the dim light of the loft apartment cast long shadows across the mismatched chairs and sofas, where Maya's circle sat in uneasy silence. Andre leaned against the wall, arms crossed, his steady gaze a quiet anchor. A few others, peripheral friends like Jake, who'd whispered the first rumors, shifted uncomfortably, their eyes darting to the floor. Lena perched on the edge of the couch, fingers twisting a loose thread on her sleeve, her usual poise cracking at the edges. Maya stood in the center, her phone in one hand, a stack of printed messages in the other. Her heart hammered, but her voice came out steady, forged in the fire of late-night therapy sessions with Dr. Hall. I've got the screenshots, the late-night texts to him, the alibis that don't add up, and the group chats where you all knew she was seeing him behind my back, playing both sides while I poured everything into this friendship. She held up her wrist, the frayed bracelet dangling like a broken promise. It had been their thing, woven during that beach trip, a symbol of unbreakable bonds. Now, threads hung loose, unraveling just like the lies. We all wore it, but you let it fray while I kept tying knots. Lena's face paled, her mouth opening and closing. Maya, it's not. No. Maya's interruption sliced the air, sharp and final. She thrust the phone forward, the screen glowing with timestamps, deleted drafts recovered from backups, evidence from Lena's double life, secret meetups, borrowed excuses, the casual exclusion of Maya from plans that twisted her choices into jokes. Andre stepped closer, his presence bolstering her as the room tensed. Jake nodded faintly, breaking the hush. I saw it too. The way she'd dodge questions, we all did. The group stirred, murmurs rippling like cracks in ice. One friend looked away, another met Maya's eyes with a hesitant nod. Lena's shoulders slumped, the fight draining out. It started small, she admitted, voice barely above a whisper. I didn't want to lose you. But yeah, it was both. And the rest, they stayed quiet to keep the peace. Maya's chest tightened with resolve. But as the words hung, admissions forced into the open, a wave of relief washed through her. No more chasing shadows, no more doubting her own eyes. She slipped the bracelet off, letting it drop to the coffee table with a soft clink. That's it. I'm done waiting for loyalty that was never real. If silence is your version of support, we're over. The circle fractured then, some standing to leave, faces etched with regret, others lingering, drawn to the raw honesty Andre had urged her toward. Maya exhaled, the weight lifting, her boundaries etched in the space she'd claimed. But in the stunned quiet, the question lingered unspoken. Would they ever see their silence for the lie it was? In the weeks that followed, Maya sat at her kitchen table, the morning light slicing through the blinds like a hesitant accusation. Her phone buzzed. Lena's name, after weeks of radio silence. Miss you. Coffee soon. We need to talk. The words hit like a ripple in still water, stirring the silt she'd tried to settle. Confusion twisted in her gut. Old habits whispered to reply, to smooth it over, but she froze, hand hovering. No, not this time. She pushed the phone aside and grabbed a notebook, pen scratching fiercely against the page. Boundaries, she wrote at the top, the word anchoring her like a stake in soft earth. No more vague plans that vanish. No secrets disguised as loyalty. If someone wants in, they show up honest, or not at all. Her handwriting shook at first, letters blurring as doubt crept in. What if this isolates me more? What if I'm the one breaking things? But she kept writing, listing the rules she'd enforce, each line a small rebellion against the paralysis that had gripped her before. By noon, she texted Andre, "Meet at the park, need to run this by you." He arrived with 2 coffees, his easy grin a lifeline. They walked the path, leaves crunching underfoot, and Maya spilled it all. The message, the notebook, the fear that the old circle's pull might drag her back into silence. "I'm done forgiving without truth," she said, voice steadying as she spoke. Andre nodded, no judgment, just that quiet mirror she needed. You're not losing them. You're choosing you. That's the real bond. As they sat on a bench, Maya pulled a glass from her bag, plain, from home, and filled it at the park fountain. The water ran clear at first, cool and unclouded, reflecting the sky's sharp blue. She sipped, feeling the resolve harden, but then a shadow crossed her mind. Lena's laugh from better days, the way trust used to feel effortless. The glass trembled in her hand, a faint murk stirring at the bottom. She swirled it, watching the clarity fight back. How long until the doubt clears, for good? That evening, she blocked the number, the click, final. New routine, calls with Dr. Hall twice a week, coffee with a coworker who'd shared her own betrayal story last month. No looking back. The water in her glass at home stayed pristine that night, a quiet promise